This video is to go over CFA 2, the number systems, and the standard is dividing fraction by fraction. So there's only one cluster. You can only get MS or NM on this particular test. The standard is NS.1, and that's being able to divide fractions. So the first question you can get meet standard. I don't even really do this one or this one here. So I'm looking for, can you explain and defend a correct strategy to answer the question correctly? So the question says, consider the expression 5/3 divided by 1/2. Using words, explain what this problem means, solve, and defend your answer. So basically, we're looking at 5/3 and you're dividing it by 1/2. So the question you're asking is how many 1/2s are in 5/3. 5/3 would be your total, and you're dividing it by 1/2, and you're trying to figure out how many 1/2s are in 5/3. So what I wrote down here is that you have to find how many half pieces are in 5/3. The answer is 3 1/3 because you change 1/2 to its reciprocal and you change the division sign to multiplication. So the work, in order to solve and defend, you need to answer it. Looks like this. So you've got 5/3 and you're dividing by 1/2. That's what the problem said here. And you're going to take 5/3 instead of dividing by 1/2, you're going to multiply by its reciprocal, which you flip the 1/2 over, and that's 2/1. And then we just multiply across. 5 times 2 is 10, and 3 times 1 on the bottom is 3. 10/3 is improper when we change it to a mixed number by dividing 10 divided by 3, and that's how we get 3 1/3 is our answer. So 5/3 times 2/1 is 10/3, which is 3 1/3 for your answer. The next question that they ask you to answer here, Allison solved this problem and got 3 1/7 as her quotient. Did she come up with the correct answer? Explain why or why not. The answer to that is no. She forgot to put the 0 because 28 goes into 4. No, I lost my train of thought here. I don't know what I was writing here. So let me see what I wrote here. The quotient is 844 divided by 28, and the answer is 30. And so 28 goes into 84 3 times, you get 84. And then here's what I'm saying. 28 doesn't go into 4, so you put a 0 here. Sorry, that's what I meant by this up here. You put a 0 there. 0 times 28 is 0, and you get a remainder of 4. So you bring your remainder up. 4/28, and that simplifies down to 1/7. So the answer is 30 1/7. She thought the answer was 3 1/7, so that's incorrect. It should be 30 1/7. So she forgot to put the 0 because 28 doesn't go into 4, so you have to put the 0 there. That's what I was trying to say there. So she just divided wrong. The next problem is to solve 6/10 divided by 9/12. And instead of dividing by 9/12, we're going to multiply by its reciprocal. And you see that here, 6/10 times by 12/9. And then I like to simplify the diagonals before we multiply. So you can simplify 6 and 9 by dividing them both by 3. That's going to give me a 2 and a 3. You can simplify the 10 and the 12 by dividing them both by 2, which gives us a 5 and a 6. Then you just multiply the 2 times 6 on the top for 12 and 5 times 3 on the bottom for 15. But that's not simplified. You can divide both of those by 3 to get 4/5. So 6/9 divided by 9/12, your answer is 4/5 in simplest form. The next one says to write your own story problem for this expression and solve your own story with the correct answer. So the problem says 1 3/4 divided by 1/2, and the answer ends up being 3 1/2. And I label it pieces because here's my story problem. Same story problem as like number 5 is a way you could do this if you're not sure what to do. Like on number 5, you could use these numbers, but change it to these numbers for question 4, and you could use the exact same story problem. So you could change the 10, and you could just change it to the 1 3/4, and then you could change the 2/5 from question 5, and you could change it to 1/2, and you could literally write the same story problem that you did here, right here. And then you could ask how many of these 1/2 ounce pieces are in 1 3/4, and how many of those pieces of butter would you have? So you could say, if you cut 1 3/4 ounces of butter into 1/2 ounce pieces, how many 1/2 ounce pieces of butter would you have? And so that's basically taking 1 3/4, which is your total, and you're dividing it by 1/2. Instead of dividing by 1/2, you multiply by its reciprocal. So 1 3/4 you have to change to an improper fraction, which is 7/4. Instead of dividing by 1/2, you multiply by 2/1. And that gives you 7/2, which is improper, and 7 divided by 2 is 3.5 pieces. So you could say 3.5 pieces of butter. So this story problem is exactly like this one. You just change the numbers to these. So then how do you solve number 10? You have 10 ounces of butter and you're wanting to cut it into 2/5 ounce pieces. So how many of those 2/5 ounce pieces will you have in that 10 ounces of butter? So 10 is your total, and you're dividing by the part, which is 2/5. Dividing by 2/5 is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal, which is 5/2. 10, and you can simplify it with the 2, dividing them both by 2. I get 5 on the top and 1 on the bottom. 5 times 5 is 25. 1 times 1 is 1, and that's 25. So you would have 25 pieces. The thing to remember with dividing fractions is you're going to take a total and divide it by a part, and then you're going to figure out how many parts are in the total. In this case, the total is 10, which is a whole number. The difference with this problem over here is it wasn't a whole number. It was a mixed number. It was 1 3/4 divided by 1/2. And that's what we're going to learn in this next unit is dividing fractions.